It is 5 p.m. here in Accra, Ghana, the 30th day of September, the end of the month of September, but the beginning of another working week. Good evening and welcome to Starr Today.
And coming up in the broadcast, government to bear brunt of organized labor's anger as deadline demand for declaration of state of emergency in fight against illegal mining menace expires today. We'll shortly hear from the Ghana Journalists Association, who have criticized the president's loud silence on the menace.
We still maintain that a state of emergency must be declared over our water bodies, and all planned and active mining concessions overlapping with river buffers should be abrogated, and all mining activities within 100 meters buffer of all rivers and streams.
We have details of that for you, plus give you a sneak peek into organized labor's crunch meeting tomorrow to determine the way forward on their demands. Also in the bulletin, Electoral Commission summons crunch IPAC meeting with political parties and other stakeholders to consider NDC's calls for forensic audit into voters' register.
We are prepared for tomorrow. They've invited us. Per their invitation, they said they want to come and present the 2024 register, right? That's what they put in their invitation. So we'll go there and see what they are presenting.
We will gauge the expectations of the largest opposition NDC shortly ahead of that crucial meeting tomorrow. And later on the broadcast, Ghana Army finally withdraws its officers from state's broadcaster, Ghana Broadcasting Corporation, more than 40 years after they were deployed to man the gates and ward off potential coup makers. We hear from the state's of a security analyst who argues the move sends a bad signal.
6 months ago, and they have to do it now. And why it cannot wait till after the election? There's something we are not aware of, because decisions that involve security around this time, whether you like it or not, it will be questioned. And so I think it's incumbent on them to let us know why they've taken this decision. We need to know.
So we've got details of these and more, including the latest in the world of sports and also campaign trail, all coming up in the next 90 minutes. Do stay with us.
Starr News is coming to you live on Ultimate 106.9 FM in Kumasi, Empire 102.7 FM in Takoradi, Cool 103.5 FM in Ho, Rage and Might FM in Tamale, Somali FM in Wa, My Star Radio in the USA. Also live on Facebook on Starr 103.5 FM and on starfm.com.gh around the world. This is Starr 103.5 FM.
Thank you very much for your time this evening. This is Starr Today, and I'm doing this with Joshua Kodjo Mensah, and my name is Tutuwaa Danso. Now, the trend of major political parties shifting blame for the Galamsey crisis has become a recurring pattern in recent times, altering their stance on the issue when campaigning in mining constituencies to win votes raises doubts about whether the fight against illegal mining will ever succeed. This conversation resurfaced after George Mekuduka, the NPP's campaign coordinator for mining communities, downplayed calls for a total ban on mining. He accused the opposition NDC of threatening the livelihoods of mining communities by advocating for such a ban. Here's a wrap.
Mia Volunteers 2024 in Kumasi. NPP NP for Efidiase Asokore and Chairman of Parliament's Health Committee, Dr. Ayu Efia, accused the National Democratic Congress of importing foreigners to engage in illegal mining and then politicizing the issue for their benefit.
Kabrani who said we are winning the seats in the mining areas, so they decided to go and import foreigners.
George Mekuduka, NPP campaign coordinator for mining communities, reaffirming the NPP's position against banning small-scale mining again. blamed the NDC for undermining the livelihoods of people in the eastern region by pushing for the ban.
The NDC is behind certain individuals calling for a ban on illegal mining. The people we saw at the PRA were NDC members. This is the issue that affects you directly. If you are here and considering voting for the NDC, open your eyes.
Meanwhile, the NDC employs a similar tactic, holding the ruling government responsible for the devastating effect of Galamsey.
We bring good news today, and that good news is that we are all aware of the ongoing Galamsey operations here. Unlike our competitors who would shut down Galamsey activities without creating alternative job opportunities, our government, the NDC, will support and sustain those operations while promoting safer mining practices to prevent land degradation and water pollution. We understand that the youth need jobs, which is why we will introduce a 24-hour economy to create more opportunities for them.
As political parties continue to shift the blame, and with the country's water bodies deteriorating further, one question remains: will the fight against Galamsey ever succeed?
Well, while the question lingers in the minds of people, some major mining companies in the country have also expressed worrying concerns over the illegal activities of unlicensed miners, commonly known as Galamsey operators. Now, according to the companies, these illegal operations are not only destroying rivers and local communities, but also leading to theft of the equipment from mining sites. My colleague Rosemond Akwoko Ajete has more in this report.
Leading mining companies, including Goldfields and Anglo Gold Ashanti, have raised alarms about the increasing encroachment of illegal miners on their concessions. They warn that these activities are severely impacting their operations, while streams in affected areas are being contaminated by Galamsey. The companies note that illegal mining, once minimal, has now escalated, with the entire community, including their concession, being overrun. During a media tour in the Western region, organized by the Ghana Chamber of Mines, Acting Managing Director of Anglo Gold Ashanti Limited, Abraham Osei Bedu, stressed that these illegal activities should not be tolerated as they are adversely affecting the company's operations.
As a mine, we do not support that. It is something that we cannot tolerate, and we are very much against those illegal activities that adversely have impact on our operations. And as I said earlier, it also introduces theft and other things that the mine is very much challenged with. They come in at various areas and steal very expensive items that we cannot do away with them, so we must find another money to go and replenish them, which is a big issue.
At Goldfields Ghana Limited, Catherine Kuto, manager of Tutuwaa Mines, highlighted the seriousness of the situation, calling it a national challenge. She emphasized that the company does not have the authority to cede any of its concessions and called on government to address the encroachment issue.
It is a fact that most of the mining companies are actually struggling with encroachment, of which Goldfields is not exception from it. So we do not have the right to cede any concession at any point in time. It is always under the regulation to give out any unused lease or areas to the state to take a decision on. But it's been a challenge. Encroachment is a challenge to most of the mining companies, of which we also face the same thing.
The Ghana Chamber of Mines also called for stricter enforcement of laws to combat illegal mining, urging the government to take decisive action against the perpetrators.
All you need there is rather enforcement to make sure that people do not do the illegal activities. So when you put all mining companies together and you say ban it, then you are not saying the right thing. That would not be a solution. We have to look for those culprits who are involved in illegal mining activities, those who are in the water bodies, those who are polluting the environment, those who are destroying without recourse, without mitigation. Those are the people we should target. And I'm sure that when we target those ones, the rest of the industry will see that we are doing a good job. Make sure you enforce the law. Get to where they are, take them out of river bodies, and make sure they don't come back. And you see that the water will be clear.
The chamber stressed the need for tougher laws to regulate mining activities and prevent potential national disasters caused by illegal mining.
That's a report by my colleague Rosemond Akwoko Ajete on the mining menace.
Now, let's still stay on mining-related issues. And the president of the Ghana Journalists Association, Albert Kwabena Jumfo, has criticized President Akufo-Addo's loud silence on the Galamsey menace. Speaking at the 28th edition of the GJA Awards, he reiterated calls for the president to declare a state of emergency.
As a Ghanaian, it saddens me to see once clean bodies of water turn a dark brown color. This is shameful, and we must all, as Ghanaians, wage a war against Galamsey. It will be recalled that a few weeks ago, the GJA organized a press conference to call for an end to Galamsey in cooperation with the Media Coalition Against Galamsey and other civil society organizations. There should be strict enforcement of all mining laws and regulations without any concessions, as well as the imposition of maximum sentences on offenders. This is a reliable approach to addressing this issue. We are aware that some time ago, Mr. President, the father of the nation, made a firm vow to stop Galamsey. But regrettably, that promise has not been fulfilled, Mr. President. You are barely 3 months until the end of the administration, and we are hopeful that you will deal with the situation before you leave office. Thank you, thank you. Now, Chairman, Your Excellency, we still maintain that a state of emergency must be declared over our water bodies and all planned and active mining concessions. Still maintain that a state of emergency must be declared over our water bodies and all planned and active mining concessions overlapping with river buffers should be abrogated, and all mining activities within 100 meters buffer of all rivers and streams should be halted with immediate effect. We also reiterate that LI 2462 should be repealed immediately. Let me also use this opportunity to implore the two leading presidential candidates who are supposed to be here with us today. They accepted the invitation and agreed to be here this evening. Unfortunately, they are not here yet. But I want to take this opportunity, Your Excellency, to implore these two leading candidates, presidential candidates and all other presidential candidates, to make a firm commitment to the fight against Galamsey so we can hold them accountable when any of them assume office in 2025. I urge the media to preface all of their stories with hashtag Stop Galamsey Now.
So that's the GJ president asking all media persons to start our stories with hashtag End Galamsey Now. And Tutuwaa, I'm sure you're also aware that
Absolutely.
organized labor gave an ultimatum, and that ultimatum elapses today. And now the big question is, what
next for them?
Next.
I'm very interested because, I mean, we spent a lot of time in October, I think early August, and then early September, having conversations with them. They were very stiff about the opposition to, want the president to declare state of emergency. And it makes so much sense because we have seen across the country the river bodies, how they are looking like. It's an eyesore. And then you're just imagining that you think you are too far from the real situation, but indirectly you are consuming poisonous stuff. And so
exactly. And that's why I got very worried when I heard a politician ask, are the river bodies in Accra?
Look, those, we are on air. I just want to control myself. But it smacks of unintelligence for politicians to be playing blame games at this point with mining issues. So because they want to win power, they go to mining communities and tell them that, we're not going to ban mining, but we're going to regulate it. We have always heard about regulation, but we are seeing terrible results now. So if people say that let the environment take a break, let the environment breathe, it's just a call in the right direction. I don't know why they're being, unintelligent about their
exactly. And it's sad because, I mean, when this fight started in 2017, when the president said, you know what, I'm putting my presidency on the line and I'm going to make sure that we return to winning ways. One of the things we would have expected was to see a situation, I mean, when the moratorium was placed on mining activities, we saw the turbidity of the water improve. So why is it so difficult now to allow for another moratorium to be placed on mining? And the funny thing is that how much do we gain from mining? The proceeds from mining, especially illegal mining, goes into the hands of private people. It does not.
It is never for the national interest.
So Ghana does not benefit from all of these mining activities. And so yes, we are saying end Galamsey now. Let us place a moratorium on it, and we'll be hearing.
I actually find it worrying. Like you find leaders of the two leading political parties in the country mount platforms to give assurances. In fact, the NDC is very emphatic about the fact that once they are voted into power, they're going to be given amnesty to jailed minors because they believe that these are not the real perpetrators, but they are also contributors to the issue. And the NPP is talking about empowering Geological Survey to deal with it. Can you just stop it? We need clean water.
And it's interesting. And that's why some people have said that until we have a national consensus that is arrived at by these two big political parties, which have won elections since 1992, we are not going to go anywhere.
And
if these two did not commit to it.
They are just looking at pleasing the masses. So I feel like the solution is far-fetched.
You know what? Anytime we talk about mining issues, illegal mining, Galamsey, it will get emotional. So let's take a breather here. This is Starr today here on Starr 103.5 FM. When we return, we'll be doing more for you. Stay with us.
Hey, Amma, so with all this skill you have in dressmaking and soap making, wouldn't it be a good idea to run a full-time business?
Sure. In this economy with so many taxes, do you think this insensitive MPP government cares about your businesses? I better go. I don't want to be killed by taxes before my time. Why?
You see the thing we Amma they talk. Charlie, small bets we are chop. Like if you see the tax way government, take put for the money top.
Kwame is right. I can't even send my mother money for her medical bills now. Because look, the e-levy alone no be easy.
Oh boy, buy some ride, make her take do Uber. Go see the tax way day for the pots there. It cost past the right safe. COVID levy all day inside.
Me, I'm not surprised that the liar who promised to move the nation from taxation to production has come due. Elections have consequences, so as for me, I've made up my mind to vote for GM and the NDC because I trust them to keep their promise to exempt small and micro businesses from VAT, grant 2-year tax holidays for new businesses like mine, scrap e-levy, COVID levy, betting levy, and emissions levy to ease hardship. In fact, I can go to the bank with JM's word because he is trustworthy.
Charlie Kodjo, your mind for deal. It is time for change.
Vote for change. Vote for John Mahama and the NDC.
Starr today. First, fast, and credible.
You're welcome back from that break. This is still Starr today, and I am Tutuwaa Danso. And of course, I'm doing this as usual with
Joshua Kodjo Mensah.
Let's do some other stories now. And some students of the University of Ghana have appealed to government to resolve the ongoing strike by the Senior Staff Association of Public Universities in Ghana and the Federation of Universities Senior Staff, which is distorting the academic calendar. The students also want the government to ban all mining activities in the country as a sign of commitment towards the fight against the menace, and also release persons who were arrested and remanded during the Democracy Hub protests.
Activities in some tertiary institutions in the country, including Ghana's premier university, have been deferred due to ongoing impasse between senior staff of the university and government. A visit to the university revealed that many of the students have still not reported, but some on campus idling about.
The Teachers and Educational Workers Union, TEU, also declared a nationwide strike starting Friday, September 20, 2024. The action comes in response to various issues, including government failure to address concerns related to pensions and alleged illegal cancellation of their overtime allowance and demands for improved working conditions despite prior protests and negotiations. According to some students of the University of Ghana, the strike is negatively affecting them.
We are supposed to go for 13 weeks of academic, looking at the academic calendar. Now, the school will be forced to reduce it. The school will be forced to condense it, and if it's been reduced from 13 to 11 weeks, then it means there's going to be an overload on students. The things that we are supposed to learn for 13 weeks, lecturers are going to find ways to fuse it within 12 weeks, which is going to affect our academic performance.
It's affecting us a lot because we have paid for hall fees. Some of us, we really struggle before paying our hall fees. And for us to come to school, not to be doing anything. Imagine if I'm from a far place, like Northern Region or something, I can't just say that I'm just going back home because the lorry fare will cause, our feeding will cause and everything, because we've made a lot of calculations for the semester.
Speaking during a press conference on the vexed issue of the fight against illegal mining activities, popularly known as Galamsey, and the remand of the Democracy Hub protesters, President of the Tertiary Education Institution Network of the NDC in the University of Ghana, Jonathan Atichobe, bemoaned the lack of political will of the political class to fight illegal mining and join cause for an immediate ban on all mining activities.
The negative impact of Galamsey and the need for the government to critically implement measures in ensuring that our water bodies and lands are well protected from Galamsey activities. After the arrest of these protesters, several Ghanaians have now threatened government through different mediums to ensure that protesters are released immediately and then the stop of illegal mining activities are brought to an end.
Jonathan Atichogbe also called on government to resolve the ongoing strike by the Senior Staff Association of Public Universities in Ghana and the Federation of University Senior Staff and TEU.
The strike is having a profound impact on University of Ghana students, affecting not only their academic progress, but also their emotional well-being. We, therefore, call on the government, university management, and union leaders to urgently address these issues, ensuring that students can resume their education in stable and supportive environment.
Now, away from that, the Ghana Armed Forces has withdrawn its officers stationed at the state broadcaster, Ghana Broadcasting Corporation. An internal memo dated today informed staff of the developments. The memo reads, the Ghana Armed Forces, acting by its agency, the 64 Infantry Regiment, has served the corporation notice to withdraw its troops deployed to GBC with effect from Tuesday, October 1, 2024. The troops were first deployed in 1979 after the June 4 coup by former President Jerry John Rawlings to man the gates of the state broadcaster and ward off potential coup makers. The withdrawal has, however, not been taken lightly. Security analyst Adam Buna has questioned the move and adds that it sends a bad signal for the country. Let's go over the phone lines now and have a conversation with Dr. Adam Buna. Doc, thank you very much for your time this evening. What is your initial reaction to this development?
Well, good evening to your listeners. My initial reaction would be that it would be good to have had the national security, in fact, informing Ghanaians why they deem it fit, why they think that the military is no longer needed at the state broadcaster or is no longer needed at GBC. It's important to know because then you see around this time, when we have barely about 2 months to go into the next elections, any security decision that, is not properly explained to the public could mean a lot of things to whoever probably might be looking at it. And so why was it not done 4 years ago? Why is it being done today? Why was it not done a year ago? Why are we now doing it? Do we have to do that now? And why are we not doing it next year? But I would say that maybe there is a need to do that, but they should have explained to us if you ask me.
Right, Doc, but let's talk about the 1979 coup. I mean, looking at the duration, it's been over 40 years. Do you still think there is that need for the military deployment in that jurisdiction?
Well, my immediate response to that would be, if you look at it, even though the state, if you go into various districts, various regions, they are everywhere. That's a public broadcaster. It is the taxpayer that keeps that, organization in place. And so, yes, one would say that they are still relevant to the media space and, the way we communicate. But I must be quick to say that other media houses have become probably more listened to and watched more than the state broadcaster, if you ask me. For instance, you have Starr FM, that is not probably, I think you have not more than 15 years. But Starr FM...
We are 10 years.
You are 10 years. And so a lot of your activities are monitored. I'm sure whatever we are doing, this interview we are having, you would have millions of Ghanaians listening to us all over the world. And so one would say, if we have to continue to provide the state broadcaster that level of security, why not the premises of, the EIB network? Because then if I have to do anything, probably I will not go to GBC. I mean, touch wood, I will go to EIB. Maybe if I go to EIB, I would be able to broadcast immediately to several Ghanaians, millions of Ghanaians who will be listening. I'm not saying that Ghanaians are no longer listening to GBC, but in fact, there are several stations today, media houses today, that have, I think the EIB, you have your account version of the EIB network, you have Starr FM, you have GH1, and so by just probably entering that premises, if you are domiciled in one place, it means that you will be able to broadcast to millions all over the world. And so mine is that, for instance, I tune into Starr FM almost all the time, everywhere almost all the time. And so it means that persons like me probably might not be listening to the state broadcaster that much, even though once in a while, when there is supposed to be some things that maybe the states of the nation address and the rest, all of you pick from that location. I think that there is a need for us to look at it, whether we need to provide that level of security. But like I said, why now? Why didn't we do it a few years ago or even 5 months ago? And why can't we do it maybe in January or February after the elections? So these are questions that will come up. I think national security should have given us answers.
But Doc, do you think there are direct implications of this decision by the military on GBC?
I don't want to think so, apart from their assets. And most of their assets, excuse me to say, are outdated. And so I'm not attempting to run down GBC, but they themselves said that the recent All-African Games, they didn't have the capacity to do what was expected of them. It means that we have not invested that amount of, resources into GBC to make it the BBC of Africa. We haven't invested that much to make it the Sky News, and we haven't invested that much. So mine is that will it affect them? If you go into GBC, I don't think, let me be very honest with you, I don't expect anybody to attempt any coup. As if any silly person, excuse me to say, attempted anything, like I'm saying, I know my stuff. I don't think the person will bother himself going to GBC. I don't think so. If you bother yourself going to GBC, I'm telling you that probably the event will take place and you'll be on your own. You'll be in your own world, believing that maybe a lot of us would have heard it, and it's going to probably begin to break gradually. So, when you do the analysis, I would say that impact on GBC in terms of someone going there, because the idea of putting the military there, I saw the 1979 coup in the period before 1979, and it was every morning, every evening, a soldier is attempting, or some security persons are attempting to take over power. And the only time sometimes you get to know is when there's a battle to take over GBC. Today, if you want to do such a thing, I tell you, just in Accra, you have the EIB, you have the multimedia, you have the media general, you have the big stations. Which of them are you going to battle to take over? So it's difficult for me to say it will impact GBC negatively, apart from maybe someone sneaking in there to go and maybe attempt to steal some microphone, or what would the person go there to do? Mine is that they are so relevant to our space, but unfortunately we haven't invested that much resources to make it that relevant. And so I think that to demilitarize it, it's okay. But I think they should tell us probably, I am only analyzing what it is, but they need to come up formally if they need be. They can't just withdraw the military just like that. They should tell us that, well, it has lost its relevance, and therefore, if we have to do that, then we should give security. Let's position the military at EIB, the EIB network, multimedia, and the other sister bigger stations. We know the big stations or media houses in Ghana. Let's position them to be there. If not, then I think that it might not be too necessary, even though I have a feeling that there's a reason, and they should give us a formal reason for why they've done that, or they are doing this.
Doc, thank you very much for your time this evening. I've been engaging Dr. Adam Bona. He's a security analyst, sharing his thoughts about the military's removal of personnel from GBC.
Starr today, first, fast, and credible.
Now, let's head to the Ashanti region, where the flag bearer of the largest opposition NDC, John Dramani Mahama, has reaffirmed the party's commitment to increasing women's representation in parliament, district assemblies, and other leading roles across various sectors of the country if he wins the upcoming December elections. In his speech at the event held in Kumasi, Mr. Mahama stressed that ensuring gender equality in leadership is not just a moral obligation, but a crucial step in harnessing the full potential of Ghana's human resources. Among others, he has also promised to induce a 1-week paternity leave for men if elected in the upcoming December elections, while extending maternity leave from 3 months to 4 months. Here are excerpts of his speech earlier today.
Why should poverty have a female face in Ghana? With 1.44 million women classified as extremely poor and living on less than $1.90 a day, why should poverty have any face at all? These numbers should not just shock us, they should spur us to action. These statistics tell a painful story because behind each number in the statistic is a woman. Perhaps a mother or a sister or our daughter who works tirelessly every day but still goes to bed hungry and poor. They are the backbone of our communities, and yet they bear the heaviest burden of inequality. This must change. Our Resetting Ghana manifesto offers bold solutions to address these challenges, and first and foremost will be the challenge of job creation. Because as I told you, the majority of unemployed people in Ghana are women. And that is why we believe that with our 24-hour economy policy, when NDC comes into office, we'll create more jobs, which will ultimately benefit more women. We want a Ghana where economic empowerment is not a privilege but a right. We must empower our women if our nation is to make progress. We note the passage of the Affirmative Action Act, and we intend to fully implement it when NDC comes into office. We'll increase women's representation in parliament, in district assemblies, and in leadership roles across all sectors. We'll do this not only because it is the right thing to do, but also Ghana needs the best of its human resource to come on board.
You just heard the voice of John Dramani Mahama speaking at the KNUST Hall about the NDC's Women's Manifesto launch that happened earlier today. But let's go over the phone lines now and engage Shamima Muslim. She's the NDC spokesperson on gender, children and social protection. Thank you very much for your time this evening, Shamima. First of all, what I want to find out is, why was there the need for the party to launch a Women's Manifesto?
Thank you very much, Tutuwaa. As you may be well aware, the NDC has rolled out a strategy to ensure mass dissemination of all our plans and projects, especially our 2024 manifesto, the manifesto of Resetting Ghana for Jobs, Accountability and Prosperity. And we reckon that to ensure we bring our good message of hope and change to every corner and every sector of our society, we must break it down so that those sectors would relate to the specific issues. So you would recall that ahead of even the general manifesto launch, we did launch our youth manifesto, and today was the turn of women. Also because, and we have communicated this, that the challenge that our country today faces is largely as a result of the deplorable situation the youth find themselves in as a result of lack of jobs and opportunity. And secondly, the deplorable state of the woman, the Ghanaian woman, because inherently we believe that if the woman is empowered economically, politically, and socio-culturally, the family unit will be protected, the community will be protected, children will be protected, because the science back that when women are better to do, they are able to provide for the family. Even husbands will be supported in this very difficult Ghana. So the Women's Manifesto is just another leg that shows the commitment of the next NDC administration to centering the issues of youth and women, because we believe that true transformation will come from empowering these two groups of people primarily. And of course, as you know, in our manifesto, we have other provisions for all other, categories of populations in our country.
Okay, great. Now, talking about women and then youth-centered policies, one of the things you mentioned today during the manifesto launch was with the fact that the next NDC government will supply basic school students and females in free senior high schools free sanitary pads. Shamima, what informed this decision?
I think that we have communicated this over and over again. It is a need, a vital need for that matter. I mean, just before I answer that, I've never seen a presidential candidate or a president express deep understanding of the nature of problems and the manifestations of challenges that different population groups face, like the way His Excellency John Dramani Mahama did today and has always done. He has expressed deep understanding of the need, sometimes unexpressed, because the issues of period poverty still face a lot of stigmatization. So you would hardly find young girls talk about their period challenges. It's like hidden struggles. And today we have our incoming president highlight and center this very natural phenomenon that many young women don't have a choice to face. We don't choose to have our periods. It's a natural phenomenon. And we know by the research from Ghana Education Service, the Girls Education Unit, that a lot of girls miss vital contact hours in school because of their period. One, they don't have the necessary hygienic period materials. Two, the schools that do not have proper sanitary infrastructure for these girls to come and be able to have water, to be able to have changing spaces. Some of them share urinals. In most of our basic schools, they share urinals, and these urinals do not have flush or water facilities. So you know how this thing is. So they stay at home, and then ultimately it affects their performance at the BEC level, and even sometimes at secondary school level for those who are day students, and even sometimes for those who are boarding students. They make excuses not just to be in class, so they don't soil themselves because of the materials and the stigmatization. So this is a national problem. Okay. And NDC before had ensured that they had a project that was supplying sanitary materials to girls, and it was criticized by the NPP. And we are saying we are bringing it back because it's a human right, and we want our girls to be confident even when they are in the period, and to be able to come to school and be able to concentrate in classes. That is why the free sanitary pads for girls is number one top priority for His Excellency John Dramani Mahama.
Okay. Now, another thing that you proposed today was with the paternity leave for men. What went into, what is the thinking that went into putting up this policy?
You see, sometimes we raise these issues because we think that they are novel. These demands have been made globally in many developed countries, especially as we want to reset and re-engineer social norms, where we think that the primary caregivers ought to be women and women alone. And we are having increasing number of women suffering from postnatal depression as a result of the burdensome nature, especially for first-time mothers having to care for their newborns all alone. You know, when we used to have societies that were more extended, where households would have aunties, mothers, grandmothers, that eased the burden of child care, we didn't have these reported instances of depression that, and health challenges, that young families, especially young women, went through. But now the family is becoming increasingly nuclear. It's the father, it's the mother living alone, sometimes, in very isolated spaces. So no help at times. So imagine you've had a cesarean section and you're back home and it's just you and your newborn baby. You are sleep deprived. And the husband is off to work every morning, leaving you. So it is the increased sensitivity to the dynamics of modern day parenting that call for concerted effort and the collaborative efforts between the man and the woman, so that the man's role is not just to impregnate the woman and then and go away. It's to be part of the pregnancy. So in other jurisdictions, they don't say the woman is pregnant. A man announces to their parents that we are pregnant, because truly we are pregnant. You participated in the process of the making of the baby. So when the baby is born, we want to, our cultural systems to understand that childcare is for both men and women, and raising the children is our collective effort. So we want the men to be part of this early, days of their newborn children, to also support the mothers and to also bond with their children in these very early days. So it is just, again, John Dramani Mahama responding to what is supposed to be the right thing to do by saying that we will look at also offering paternity leave, because men also need to be, and men go through a lot too when their wives are pregnant and are in the hospital going and coming, so just a few weeks for them to stabilize the family and continue work is not too much to ask, I think.
Right. You are also, among many other promising to put up hospitals or clinics in markets in the country. I want to find out, will these clinics be stationed at the regional market or every small markets scattered across the country?
When we announce policies, we always announce policies with an intention, as it is with public policy, of ensuring you do the due diligence, you find the markets that have the spaces to accommodate. A lot of our markets already have, when we talk about clinics in market centers, don't see a big regional ridge hospital in the middle of Makola, for instance. But there are big hospitals, big markets that require enhanced facilities, because people are staying in the market for long hours, and most of them are women. Most of them are childbearing women and mothers. So again, this is just bringing back again the concept during the time of the PNDC 31st December women's daycare centers. A lot of them were situated near market centers, so that women were able to bring their children to school and then go to the market and trade and be able to come back for their kids when they close and come home with their kids. So we're going to ensure that existing markets that have the capacity to absorb extra facilities are supported to have those facilities. Sometimes it's just a little room where the basic healthcare service is required. Emergency, care, basic, and we are offering a free universal,
healthcare,
and basic healthcare, which means at the chief level, at the district health level, at the polyclinic level, people should be able to have access. And markets are very populated areas. So if we want to enhance our market by expanding some of these social services, I think it's the right thing to do, and we will definitely deliver on that promise. If it's a regional hospital, a regional market, a district market that requires that facility, they would work with the district assembly to situate those facilities at the point where most people can have access to those services.
Okay, Shamima, thank you very much for your time. Shamima Muslim is the NDC spokesperson on gender, children and social protection. Let's still stay within the NDC, and the Electoral Commission has summoned a Crunch IPAC meeting with political parties and other stakeholders to consider the NDC's calls for a forensic audit into the voters register. The meeting, slated for tomorrow, Tuesday, October 1, 2024, is meant to give the NDC the opportunity to present its evidence to the Commission. The party has been vocal about the discrepancies in the provisional voters register, thereby questioning the integrity of the register. The EC, however, maintains that it has addressed key issues and followed the legally outlined audit process. Ahead of that meeting, however, the NDC is demanding a live broadcast to allow Ghanaians make an informed decision of the meeting. We will engage some persons within the NDC subsequently on Starr News.
Starr Today. First, fast, and credible.
Engage in all the propaganda you want, but if the fundamentals are weak, the exchange rate will expose you.
Has the exchange rate not exposed Dr. Baumia and the NPP? At the end of December 2016, the cedi to dollar exchange rate was 4 Ghana cedis to $1. Today, it's about 16 Ghana cedis to $1. This is more than 4 times the amount of cedis one needed to buy a dollar in 2016. Today, as a result of the free fall of the cedi, many businesses have lost significant amount of their working capital, with many collapsing in the process. Did they not say yeti sikaso? Yeti sikaso. Ghanaians are worse off as prices continue to soar on a daily basis. Putting food on the table has become a daily struggle. The hardship is real. It's time for change. Vote for change. Vote for John Dramani Mahama and the NDC.
Starr Today. First, fast, and credible.
You're welcome back from that break. This is still the Starr Today. Let's do business now, where energy analyst Dr. Shafiq Suleimana has urged government to absorb the latest PURC tariff increment, describing the adjustment as misplaced. Consumers of water and electricity will from next month pay 3% and 1.86% more following the latest tariff adjustment by PURC. According to the utility regulator, it took into account the current forex and inflation rate before arriving at the latest increments. But energy analyst Dr. Shafiq Suleimana has criticized PURC's justification for the increment. He spoke to my colleague Nadede Tete on Starr Midday News.
I just think that the economy is still very difficult. Consumers are still struggling to survive. Life is still very tough. The economy is hard, and getting times that consumers are going to continue to wallow in more difficulty, and their disposable incomes will be used to pay for electricity tariff instead of using it to alleviate the current economic hardship that the economy has actually meant on us. In addition, the factors or the reasons why they've used to actually explain the increment in the tariff are things that are not related to the consumer. If you are looking at the key factors that they use as the basis to increase the tariff, inflation, why should the consumer bear the inflation? This is a response. They are suffering inflationary factors in other commodities. Why should it be translated to power sector? Exchange rates, by an example of a very bad economic management process. Why should the consumer be bearing the burden of exchange rate in tariff? And I think that generally, if you look at the factors, they also talked about the weighted average cost of gas. I mean, why should the consumer be bearing all these inefficiencies that the economy is offering, and to all of us, the inefficiencies the power sector is having in relation? Too much should be protected actually, instead of being burdened with this increasing tariff. In addition to the excruciating economic conditions.
So who should bear the cost?
It's not a cost. If it is a cost increment, then the consumer wouldn't have had a problem, because in tariff adjustment, if there's an increase in cost of generation, then there's no problem for the consumer to bear. But the substantial reasons the PRC is giving is not as a result of cost. It's as a result of what? exchange rate depreciation, inflation.
But that will culminate in increased cost, wouldn't it? Because if the exchange rate is depreciating, it means that they will require more CDs to do whatever it is. Isn't that the case?
Yes, so this is not the time to then transfer the cost to the consumer or transfer anything to the consumer, because it has nothing to do with what the consumer is the side of the consumer.
So government should be the one bearing it?
Government should be the ultimate reason, because QRC should not even at the first place be thinking about any tariff adjustment at this point. Government should be the one bearing it. They should look at working on the economy. They should look at stabilizing the city, case closed, instead of looking at a short-term transfer of the cost to the consumer.
That was energy analyst Dr. Shafiq Suleiman. Up next on the broadcast is the campaign trail. Today on the campaign trail, we are not towing the typical political line. We are going to be discussing a development that is hampering growth in a lot of sectors, directly and indirectly. Galamsey. And today on the program, we are assessing the impact of Galamsey on the production of cannabis for commercial purposes. And my guest is Nana Kwajaman. He's the Chief Executive Officer of Empire Agric Limited. Remember that the bulletin is streaming live on Facebook at Starr 103.5 FM. You can also join us with your thoughts and comments on 055-288-0216. Again, it's 055-288-0216. You're welcome to the campaign trail. Welcome once again to the campaign trail. As I already told you, my guest is seated in the studios, Nana Kwajaman. He's the Chief Executive Officer of Empire Agric Limited. Nana, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
And a hemp evening to all your listeners.
What's hemp evening? What does that mean?
Well, it means, like you would say, good evening.
Right.
I've replaced the word with hemp. Is that
patois?
Hemp cavalry. No.
It's just your own terminology.
Yeah, it's a hemp cavalry.
Right.
Yes.
Right. I see. Nana, we were discussing the topic for the discussion, I found it very interesting that Galamsey is affecting the production of cannabis in the country. First of all, let's understand one thing. What does it take to grow cannabis?
Well, of course, you need land.
Mm-hmm. That's primary.
Yeah, you need land.
Mm-hmm.
You need a good irrigation system.
Okay.
Even though cannabis doesn't really require as much irrigation as other traditional crops.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, you'd have to prepare your land. And, you'd have to go through the same routine as if you were cultivating high-value crops.
Okay.
But cannabis is much more sustainable. And so, our climate is perfect for it. And even if it doesn't have water for a few weeks or so, it will not be affected. It will still grow. So, it's a tough plant. It's a very tough plant.
Okay. Can anybody grow cannabis?
In the scheme of things, yes, of course. Anyone can grow any plant, I guess. But in terms of the law, no.
Okay.
Because there is a law that guides the whole thing. There's regulations there that guides everything. And so until you have a license to cultivate cannabis, you shouldn't really be cultivating it. If you do cultivate it, it will be against the law. I think what's important to note is that when we talk about cannabis, there are two different species of cannabis. What has been approved by the law is what we term industrial hemp. It's also cannabis, but basically it has a low THC level. Now, THC is tetrahydrocannabidiol. It is the compound that gives you the high, as it is described, when you smoke the cannabis. Now, with industrial hemp, that cannabis, you don't really smoke because it doesn't possess that high THC. The THC level in industrial hemp is 0.3, so it's negligible. It's not for recreational use, but it can provide lots of different commodities, and I brought one or two to show you as well, like charcoal, like wood, textiles. It can make everything plastic. It can do so many things, paper. In fact, it can make this building. This entire building can be made out of industrial hemp. It's called hempcrete. And once you cultivate the hemp and you harvest...
Hempcrete?
Yes, hempcrete.
Does it replace concrete?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
That's very interesting.
And it minimizes the carbon footprints as well. It's very good in terms of the environment. So, it's wonderful. So this entire building can be made out of hempcrete. Your studio can be made out of hemp because everything plastic can be made out of hemp. The wood you have here can be made out of hemp. The clothes you are wearing can be made out of hemp. The shoes you are wearing can be made out of hemp. Everything can be made out of hemp. There's 50,000 different uses. Even the water he has just provided, you can make that out of hemp. You can have cannabis-infused water, CBD water. I've brought some to show you too.
It won't make you high?
No, it won't.
Of education?
No, it won't make you high. You're missing the point. Hemp, industrial hemp, has a THC of 0.3. That cannot make you high. It's negligible. For you to get that high, you're talking about recreational cannabis stroke medicinal cannabis that has a THC content of between 5 and let's say 25%. As for that one, you can take it in a gummy and different edibles. You can cook with it. Yes, you may feel some psychoactive buzz, if you like. But with industrial hemp, no, there's nothing like that.
Okay. Now, you said that cannabis or the industrial hemp has over 50,000 users.
Yes.
Okay. Just how important is it? I want you to paint a picture. Just how important is that to the country in terms of revenue generation?
It's very important to the country, and you can generate, for government, it's going to generate a new revenue stream, that's for sure.
Okay.
Because you have export licenses, import licenses, you've got license for transport, license for storage, license to cultivate, license for research and development, license to advertise, license to process, license to manufacture. These are all fees that are going to the government. And when you want to import as well, there's a duty that you pay for importing and there's a duty that you pay for exporting. And so it creates a whole new revenue stream for government. So in terms of that, it's very, very good. On top of that, look, job creation. It can create direct jobs and indirect jobs. Numerous. Too numerous to count.
Okay.
So the benefits for government, the benefits for our society are vast. And as we are here with this topic of galamsey, this is where it beats everything. Because, look, the land that has been poisoned, let's say in the western region, with cyanide and mercury and all those other toxic chemicals, when you cultivate industrial hemp on those lands, over a period of years, you will actually reclaim those lands because industrial hemp absorbs the toxin from the soil.
Okay.
So all those places that have been ruined so far, farmers are looking at those places. They can't go there to cultivate any longer, any high value crops. What we would like to do is go there and cultivate industrial hemp. And over a period of a few years, all the toxins will be gone from that soil. And then you will be able to return to that soil, farmers will be able to return to that soil and cultivate high value crops. It's the same with our water bodies, believe it or not. A combination of dredging and various other applications. You cultivate industrial hemp on the banks of those rivers, the Ankraba River, the Pra River, and you will see over a period of time that the industrial hemp will clear those water bodies and they'll become potable water once again. It will take several years, but what I'm telling you is a fact. And I'll give you an example. In Chernobyl, about 35 years ago, there was a nuclear disaster. I think a reactor blew or something like that. And so there was radiation in the air. It killed everything for miles. And what they had to do was cultivate industrial hemp right around that infrastructure for miles. And that industrial hemp absorbed all the radiation. And today, Chernobyl is now a tourist site. So that's a clear example of what industrial hemp can do. So far from galamsey being a problem for industrial hemp, it's not.
Okay.
It's
not.
not.
I just want to understand. I mean, I find this conversation very interesting because I'm learning a lot. But on the average, how much does industrial hemp, or how much will it potentially end the country?
Well, I mean, I can't say. It depends, doesn't it? Because, you know, when you cultivate industrial hemp, you have to have an off-taker. The off-taker, by and large, is outside of the country. So, you know, we're not talking about selling industrial hemp in Ghana.
Okay.
We're talking about selling it abroad. So straight away, the revenue that is generated is foreign exchange. It's either pounds, euros, or dollars. Straight away, that shores up our bank balance here, doesn't it? With that type of revenue coming into the country. So I can only say, in principle, that it will do an enormous amount of good for Ghana. But I can't give you the specifics. None of us have started cultivating officially yet because we are still waiting for our licenses. But what is clear is cultivation for export will generate foreign exchange for this country. It will shore up the bank balance of this country and shore up the city as well.
You say you're still waiting for your licenses. How difficult has it been for you? Has it been a difficult process?
Yeah, well, it's been years. Because you see, just in the same way that we have to, I'm speaking to you and it's educating you, we have spent years trying to educate this government.
Okay.
You know, it's well over 5
so
years.
So what do you think has been the problem?
The head's a bit too hard.
Do you think the government is not being open-minded?
No, it's not so much the government not being open-minded, but us Ghanaians are not open-minded. Because we've been indoctrinated about cannabis for a very long time. We've been indoctrinated by the people who are now, you know, rolling in its success, in the money that it's generated in the United States, in Canada, in the rest of Europe. And so, you know, we've been told that it's the devil's plant and all that kind of stuff. And we've propagated that type of, it's nonsense, to be perfectly honest with you, excuse me. And so, you know, we think that the people who walk on the streets, sometimes they're not dressed, they're naked, they're growing locks, etc., etc. We say that those people have been smoking weed and they've become mad, and that's why they're doing it. And it's all a fallacy. It's not true at all. It's not true at all. I mean, look.
Is it?
No, it's not true. Look, let me tell you something. Policemen smoke weed. How many policemen have you seen mad? Soldiers smoke weed. How many soldiers have you seen go mad? Civil servants smoke weed. Lawyers smoke weed. Judges smoke weed. Look, it's spread throughout our society, but they do it behind closed doors.
Isn't it the abuse of the substance that is problematic?
How do you abuse it? No, it's not. It's not. The abuse of alcohol is much more problematic than the so-called abuse of weed, because at the end of the day, when you abuse alcohol, you become rowdy, you want to drive your car and eventually have an accident, you become misplaced in the things that you do. But if, let's say, for example, I concur with you and say you can abuse weed, when you do abuse it, the only thing you will do is sleep. That's all you will do.
Really?
Yep. That's all that will happen to you. You will fall asleep. Period.
This is news to me.
No, it's a fact. It's a fact.
Okay.
And so there is no correlation between somebody consuming weed and someone being mad, so to speak. There's no correlation between it. No, because if you had you're a pretty successful woman. If you were driving down the road and all of a sudden you had a car accident and let's say you lost an arm, that could trigger psychosis. You could be pregnant and lose your pregnancy. That could trigger psychosis. There are lots of things that can trigger psychosis, but they're not necessarily the cause of psychosis. And we've not been able to get over this principle at all.
Okay.
We've had people who are qualified who have just been pushing this narrative. It's a false narrative all the way, that the cause of madness is the consumption of weed. It's not true. There are many things that can trigger psychosis.
Okay. I've spent just a few minutes with you here, but I've learned a thing or two about the relevance of industrial hemp. Couldn't it be that the education about what industrial hemp can be used to has not been widespread, reason for which Ghanaians are finding it difficult to accept it?
Well, I have a difficulty in putting it across to the media, because you guys are more interested in sensation than anything else.
Oh, that would not be fair to all of us.
No, well, but I mean, it's true. It's true. I've spent over 7 years pushing this narrative of what cannabis can do. And, we always seem to get muddled up between industrial hemp and medicinal and recreational use. We can't get it out of our head. Smoking. And it's a problem. It's a problem. I've told you that the clothes you wear can be made out of cannabis.
Exactly, but
hemp.
how many people know this?
Well, look, we've been saying it for years. And you see,
but
problem
I'm just finding
is,
out. So I feel like it just boils down to the problem that the education bit is not widespread.
Well, the education is not widespread because the media don't give these type of invitations often enough. I've been screaming for a round table debate. We've got doctors and lawyers and all these qualified people. Let us have a round table debate where it's 1 or 2 hours, it's covered on the TV, and we can really examine whether or not there's any truth in what I'm saying or not.
Okay.
But which media house will give us that opportunity?
Starr FM.
Oh, please.
EIB Network.
Please.
We have given you the opportunity now.
15, 20 minutes.
That's still enough time.
It's not, though. It's not enough time.
You have justified. It is foundational.
You have justified that it's not enough time by saying you've never heard what I've been saying before. But I've come on Starr FM before.
How many years ago?
I've come on Starr FM before, probably a couple of years ago.
A couple of years ago.
Yeah, I've come on Starr FM before. I've been on Joy. I've been on most of them. But the time is not long enough for us to really examine what I'm saying, to really look into what I'm saying, to really develop an overall understanding of what I'm saying.
Okay.
And so I'm grateful that you've given me this opportunity, but I've got to tell you, it is not long enough.
Okay.
It's prime time, and yes, you've got lots of people listening. Still not long enough. I need to be back here tomorrow, and the next day, and the next day, and the next day, driving that point home, giving you live examples of what industrial hemp can do, giving you live examples of what medicinal cannabis can do, so that it will really sink in and you will know that cannabis is not an enemy.
Okay. You said you had a few products you had brought in. Can I see some of them?
Yes, you can. Well, this is one.
Okay, the bag.
Yeah, this bag is one. You can't believe it, can you? Well, I'm not surprised. But this bag is one. It's made out of hemp.
And people need to know that when you own a bag like this, it won't make you high.
No, it can't. And this is why I'm saying, you see, you mustn't repeat this because you're causing the confusion. Because I've already clarified that hemp is different to recreational and medicinal. Yes, cannabis. So once you go back to that.
I just want to rehash.
Well, it's not good.
To eliminate the misconception.
Well, you can tell your listeners.
That's good hemp seed milk.
That's milk.
Milk made from hemp.
That's right. And this is water.
Water.
That's made from hemp. Very good for athletes. Very good for the elderly. This is wood made from hemp.
Okay.
You see, and the point I'm trying to make about this is charcoal.
So completely made from hemp.
Yes, so it addresses the issue of deforestation and all these things because our people no longer need to be cutting our trees to produce charcoal.
Right.
Because you can grow industrial hemp and produce charcoal just like that. You see? So these are the points that we need to reinforce. These are the points that listeners need to know. Here's a T-shirt made out of industrial hemp.
This is beautiful.
Of course it is. Of course it is. That's made out of industrial hemp.
Okay.
Here is industrial hemp.
This is it. This is the product.
This is cannabis. Go on, sniff it. I know that's all you want to do. You want to smell it. You won't get high. You won't get high.
Well, I'm not high.
Now, look at this bag. That's
solely made from hemp.
Solely made from hemp. 100% hemp.
That's beautiful.
The
I'm
industry,
impressed and surprised.
Yeah, the industry is so big, you have no idea. Well, that's industrial hemp. You know, the industry is a very big industry.
Okay. But are you able to tell me on top of your head how many hectares of cannabis farm there is in Ghana?
What, illegal cannabis farms?
At the moment?
No, I can't tell you.
You can't tell me?
No. If I could tell you, I'd probably be arrested after this show. Because why would I know how many hectares of illegal cannabis is growing in Ghana? Why would I know that? It's illegal.
Okay.
So I don't know.
Okay. I just want us to drive the conversation around the importance of cannabis. I mean, just like we have for cocoa board. Cocoa board can easily tell me how many hectares of cocoa, but you cannot do that.
I don't even bring cocoa board into this because they're not credible.
Cocoa board is not credible.
No, we shouldn't say the word cannabis and cocoa board in the same sentence. No, they're not credible.
Cocoa board is not credible.
That's a waste organization. I'm talking about something. I'm talking about something that's going to create lots of jobs for people. And you can see it goes beyond the cultivation. The cultivation is one aspect. Now when you come to process it to make wood, think about how many workers you need. Now when you come to process it to make charcoal, think how many workers you need. Now when you come to process it to make water, think about how many jobs that create. For hemp milk, think how many jobs that create. For the T-shirt I've talked to you about, our textile industry is dead. Absolutely dead. Industrial hemp can revive our textile industry.
Okay.
Very, very well.
Okay.
Because you can blend the hemp with cotton, with nylon, with polyester, with wool, and other textiles as well, to produce whatever you want to produce. So just think about how many jobs are sitting here.
I'm really thinking about it, but you know that cocoa, for instance, has been the #1 earner for the country in years. So why do you blatantly say that?
Please,
Cocoa board
let's
is not.
let's not divert. They're a failed organization. They're a failed company.
On what basis?
They've never made any profit. A company makes profit. That's why it's there, to make profit. It's never ever one day made any profit. And all the loans it's syndicated doesn't trickle down to the farmers. They're still living like in like destitutes. Right? And look what's happening. It's so bad that the cocoa farmers are destroying their own farms because they're not getting any money from it. But the people who sit in the cocoa board house, they are fine with their V8s and their houses in Trasaco, etc., etc. So please, let's not go there.
Okay.
I'm talking about a new industry, a brand new industry that can help our declining city, that can help our society, that can give youngsters a job. Graduates can come out and start looking at how they can make hemp milk better than it is already, how we can produce CBD infused water better than it is already, how we can make the wood stronger than it is already, how we can produce charcoal for those in the rural areas, stop them from cutting down the trees. You know, and in terms of medicinal, we have a lot of children here who have epilepsy.
Okay. Let me find out from you. I mean, the reason we have been having the conversation is because of this worrying development, galamsey. Tell me about the impact of galamsey on cannabis production.
Well, there's no impact. There's no impact. It's the other way around. We can help the country. We can clean up the water.
Isn't galamsey affecting your farms, for instance?
No, it's not affecting
galamsey is
our
not
farm.
affecting your farms.
No, I don't have a license, so how can it be affecting the farms? How can it be affecting the farms? Where, you know, down in the western region where it's rampant, that's not where we're going to be farming. We're in the Volta region, and we're in other areas.
And that is where you be, for as long as you are producing.
Absolutely.
In the Volta region only.
No, not only in the Volta
Where?
region. We have other areas as well.
Where are these areas?
In Bono East, in Bono. Up in the northern region.
You know there's galamsey going on in all of these regions.
We know. We are aware.
So
and we will take steps around it. We will take the necessary steps around it so that it doesn't impact on our farms.
At the moment, there's no diverse impact. There's no dire impact.
No, because we're not cultivating. So we've not addressed that issue yet. But what I'm saying to you, it's actually the reverse. The introduction of cannabis cultivation in Ghana can help to reverse the damage that has been done to our farmlands and that has been done to our rivers and our waterways. This is what I'm saying to you. And as soon as we can get our licenses, we can start looking at these farms, we can start looking at these water bodies with a view to assisting in cleaning it all up.
Okay. And how soon are you looking at getting your licenses?
Well, how long is a piece of string with this government? How long? How long?
Are you still in talks with the government?
Well, they say that they're now looking at the charges and fees. And I believe that Parliament will resume next month, which is just a day or two away. And I think it's the Legislation and something committee, I can't remember, and subsidiaries committee that will consider the charges and fees. When they approve that, it will take 21 days. It will become law if there's no chronic objection. After it becomes law, then we can apply for the licenses, you see, and hopefully it won't take long for that to be issued. Once that is issued and we start working on our farms, etc., etc., we will express the interest, and I'm expressing it now openly to government, that we want, Empire Agri Ghana Limited, we want to address the issue of the poison, the toxic poison that is in the land in various different regions, and we want to cultivate industrial hemp there.
But you want to treat galamsey with industrial hemp?
Yes.
Okay.
Because it can be done.
Okay. Tell me about that.
And we can do it.
Because the country desperately needs a solution to deal with it.
Well, it's land reclamation, and this is what I'm saying to you. Industrial hemp is a plant that absorbs all the toxin. The mercury, the cyanide, whatever it is that has been down there, we can cultivate on those lands, right? And it will absorb all the toxins. We will harvest it, and we will make non-consumable goods like this, so that you will still be able to use it, because you can't produce consumable goods like this, CBD, because obviously it would be poison. So we can cultivate and harvest and manufacture and process non-consumable goods that in turn will also be a benefit to Ghana. You see, and reclaim the land. It will take several years. It will cost millions of US dollars. It's not free. But at the end of the day, farmers who got a pittance for their land, for people to go and do small-scale mining and all that, they will now be able to go back on their land and cultivate high-value crops.
Okay.
Now, with the water, it's a process called phytoremediation.
Phytoremediation.
Yes, that's what it's called.
Okay.
And, you know, that is also something, as I was saying to you before, we cultivate on the land leading up to the water bodies. We cultivate on the banks, and where the water is shallow enough, we can put plants in there that have probably we've taken from the nursery that are 8 weeks old, and put it into those water bodies.
Okay.
And it will absorb the toxins, and eventually it will clear the water. Not on its own, because we will need to work in collaboration with other organizations, international organizations who specialize in clearing water bodies, and they may have other ways that they can apply themselves where when we combined it brings about the same result.
Okay.
So
we are wrapping up, but I just want to find out from you if you are hopeful that someday Ghanaians will embrace industrial hemp.
yeah, they will. I'm more than hopeful. They will embrace industrial hemp, they will embrace medicinal cannabis, and they will also embrace recreational cannabis. They will embrace it. It's all about the education. They need to know. Then they need to be told the truth. You see, and I'm here to tell people the truth. I don't need to fool anyone. You look across the globe, and everywhere else, people, countries are benefiting from industrial hemp. They're benefiting from medicinal cannabis. They're also benefiting from recreational use. There's in all the other countries, you're not hearing about anybody walking the streets naked who have become mad because they've consumed recreational cannabis. Only in Ghana. Well, our brain's different to everybody else's brain? No. It's a story that has been told. And the people who are the originators of the story have stopped telling that story in their country. And that is why in Canada, when Canada in 2018 made recreational cannabis lawful, by 2022 they had earned 40 billion in taxes. 40 billion US dollars in taxes over a 4-year period after legalizing recreational use. They are the storytellers. They are the people who told us the story. It's bad for you. No, we can't do it. Stop. Blah, blah, blah. Look at what they're doing. They generated 40 billion. We could do with that 40 billion. Even the 3 billion that we're begging the IMF for. If we'd have started this 4 or 5 years ago, that 3 billion would be nothing in terms of taxes.
Okay.
We would have had that money already.
Okay. We are wrapping up. I just want you to give your final words to the government.
Well, that's quite difficult. Just a final word? Well, I think they've done well so far, to be perfectly honest. I mean, despite the fact that our president is reluctant to fight Galamsey, he has given his assent to something that could help to clean up his mess. And so I'm quite grateful that has happened. I would urge them to move very swiftly to sort out the charges and the fees and to issue the licenses so that we can get this new industry on the road. There are tens of thousands of jobs that are available to graduates and non-graduates. And there are lots of benefits in so many different ways in terms of generating revenue for government, and also as well in terms of the environment, as I've been saying to you. The issue of deforestation, the issue of reclaiming our lands, the issue of phytoremediation for our water bodies. So I would urge, let's move with some urgency, please.
Right. Thank you very much for coming. It's been an absolute pleasure. I've been engaging the Chief Executive Officer of Hempire Agric Limited, Nana Kweku Ajiman, and that wraps up Campaign Trail on Starr today.
Today, first, fast, and credible.
Let's do sports now. And the residents of Bukom can now breathe a sigh of relief as the previously run-down pitch has been fully restored and is nearly ready for use. During interviews with my colleague Nana Amajiman, residents expressed their elation at the revival of football in the community. Here is a more detailed report.
Bukom is renowned for its local delicacy, kinke with fish, and for being a hub for boxing, having produced some of Ghana's top fighters. However, football, which is cherished by Ghanaians, was not a prominent feature. This changed when the government launched a project to build artificial turfs, transforming the situation in Bukom. The government has invested in constructing approximately 150 astroturfs across the country. Bukom, situated in the Odododio constituency, was part of this initiative, with the Coastal Development Authority constructing an astroturf pitch in the community in 2020. This facility, located in the heart of Bukom, was designed to uncover local football talent, having previously produced soccer stars like Stephen Appiah and Lae Kingston. However, just 4 years after its construction, the facility deteriorated and could no longer serve its purpose. Some blamed the government for poor workmanship, while others held the community responsible for misusing the facility. 6 months ago, the situation was different when I visited the Bukom AstroTurf Park, which was undergoing reconstruction for the second time in 4 years. During my visit, the facility was locked, but the damaged iron fences has been replaced and the worn-out artificial grass had been restored. Residents, unable to contain their excitement at the return of football, promised to take better care of the facility this time.
That constructed the park for us, but unfortunately, the residents, including myself, damaged it. We reached out to them again, and they agreed to renovate the park. This time, adding additional facilities such as an administrative office. They also established a committee to oversee the park's maintenance. We have pledged to take better care of it going forward.
First, na fi ni fiti e ba like na afi e na gbe bai ni wo gbege bi enwo bi e wa chi at one fi oni
We mishandled the park previously because there were no regulations in place. However, now that the park has been renovated and rules have been established, we are committed to following them.
This time around, they should look for people that they are very professionals, that they have knowledge about AstroTurf, that will keep it good shape for us, so that 10 or 5 years to come, the park will still look fresh and strong.
However, some expressed differing views on the reconstruction of the pitch.
There are no people, we don't have any people that can maintain it in a good shape. If you want to do an AstroTurf, you do it in a place that the people have knowledge about that, which they can maintain it with their knowledge. But here, that we have the AstroTurf, we don't have knowledge to maintain it. We can testify that first AstroTurf has been made here, which they have destroyed, and they have renovated another one. So what sure are we that this one is going to be maintained? What sure are we?
After the old pitch was destroyed, the community was left without a proper football facility. But now, with a reconstruction nearing completion, Bukom is poised for a new beginning. Reporting for GH1 TV Sport, Nana Ama Ajiman, Bukom.
That is my colleague Nana Majiman there with that sports reports. And that wraps up Starr today here on Starr FM. Thank you very much for your time. For more news updates, log on to starfm.com.gh. I've been doing this with Joshua Kodjo Mensah.
It's amazing why you don't want me to mention my name today.
Mention my name.
Okay. And I'm also here with the ever radiant and intelligent Tutuwaa.
Thank you. I wanted that emphasis on my name. We are back tomorrow with Starr today. Have a good evening.